Welcome to the Great Podcast, the show where we take a look at the important men and women of history and decide once and for all if they're worth all the fuss.
Hell yeah.
My name is Jordan.
My name is David. So was that it?
Yeah, let's just use that one. Yeah, I like that one.
Okay, because we were practicing there, but that worked really well.
Use
so
that
yeah,
one.
we'll just. So hi, yeah, I'm David.
All right.
Welcome to the show. All right, this is episode 3 of the Great Podcast. Last time we talked about Augustus.
What a guy.
What a guy. Very interesting.
These first two have been super cool.
Yes, and they both got the great.
Mm-hmm.
They were both very high ranking. They like 85.5 and 82.
Very deserving.
Yeah. You don't know who we're talking about today because I told you it's not Tiberius, the successor of Augustus.
Correct. That's what you said.
That is what I said. Yes. So let's hop right into it because it's 8:30 at night and we probably are going to be here until after 10. So
Woo!
Let's get going. But first, I want you to picture in your mind we're in Germania.
Okay.
Okay, this is shortly after the Teutoburg forest disaster.
I was just going to say lots of trees, green, probably a little damp.
Yeah,
all right.
The swamp area where all the dead Romans are.
Oh, the big, the big
yeah.
tragic slaughter where they cried after the soldiers came.
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
Yeah,
Gotcha,
now I
gotcha.
mentioned briefly that after that, some troops went up and dealt with that afterwards.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So a young man is there leading the Roman legions in their third campaign against the Germanic tribes.
Right.
This man inherited a title from his father, Drusus the Elder. So if you want to take a peek at our family tree.
Oh, this guy again. I know Drusus the Elder. I remember.
Yep.
I was here.
His son inherited a title. What was that title?
Germanicus?
Germanicus.
There we go.
Means conqueror of Germany.
Germanicus. That's
and
right.
so he inherited that title because his dad actually did it. Now he's actually in Germany.
Oh, this is the guy.
Yeah, Germanicus is up there.
All right.
Because his dad's dead at this point.
Well, we got to fulfill the name somehow.
Yes. So Germanicus is a popular hero back in Rome because he's out here doing this stuff.
Right.
He is fighting off those damn Germans who slaughtered the legions at Teutoburg.
Right.
And he has even saved 2 of the 3 lost legionary eagles.
Well, that is pretty significant.
It's very important. There's no greater dishonor than losing those. And they lost 3, obviously. So he got 2 of them back. And many whispered that maybe he should be emperor and not that grumpy old Tiberius that no one likes.
Maybe.
Because Tiberius came to the throne at like 55 after Augustus died. Yeah, so he's an old man, really upset in life.
Oh, his life was terrible.
Oh yeah, we'll talk about
it
too. We'll go back. We'll briefly cover Tiberius.
Do a recap on the misery.
Yeah, and his reign. So, as one can imagine, up in Germania, morale can often be low. Fighting so far from home, the men miss their wives and their children. Right?
Yeah,
but
it's probably also a terrible environment to just be in. It's probably wet all the time, cold, and just tired.
Yeah, I bet. Yeah,
miserable.
Just awful. So yeah, life can be quite miserable out on campaign. And when you are missing your family, sometimes what you need is to just have maybe a little kid around to be your army's mascot.
Okay.
Maybe Germanicus' son.
Okay.
Yep. So you can take a peek at the family tree.
Mm-hmm.
He's got 3 of them.
He does.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
And this one is Gaius Julius Caesar.
All right.
Yep, little boy,
throwback.
hanging out, kind of adopted. You know, the men dote on him. He's their little guy.
Right.
He's probably 3 or 4.
Okay.
And they have him dressed in his own little soldier's outfit.
Well, naturally.
It's super cute.
Right.
And with those come his own little versions of the boots that the soldiers wear.
Okay.
Now, these boots were called Caligae. I'm not exactly sure how to pronounce it. But they gave this boy a nickname, Caligula, which means little boots.
That's a familiar name.
I was going to say, does that ring
history?
Any bells?
Yeah, just something I've heard.
Yes, that is, it's one of those names that I think a lot of people will be like, oh yeah, I don't know who that is, but I've heard that.
Right.
Well, that's who we're going to be talking about today.
Today?
Yes.
Oh, little boots. Let's go.
Little boots. But first, let's talk about Tiberius a little bit. So after Augustus died in 14 CE, Tiberius reluctantly accepted his role as sole emperor of Rome. He was kind of co-ruling up until Augustus died because Augustus was old.
Yeah.
So the first few years were peaceful and stable. Aside from him cutting off the money going to his exiled wife. You remember his wife?
Mm-hmm.
Augustus's daughter, Julia.
Yes, the one that was like, I'm going to sleep with everyone.
Everyone. Yeah.
Yeah.
So he cut off the money going to the island where she was exiled.
Okay.
Which meant she starved to death.
Right. No resources.
Yeah. It was pretty bad. You remember Agrippa Posthumus?
Yeah.
He was the last son.
Yeah, the crazy one that also got exiled.
The one who was kind of like, oh, maybe he could be the heir after the other two died.
Yeah, but he's like, I like violence a lot.
Just a nasty little kid.
Yeah.
So banished to an island by Augustus, and the Senate was told never let him out. So around the time that Augustus died, so did Agrippa. Kind of unclear.
Okay.
But it was probably Tiberius going, well, he does have a stronger claim than I do.
That's fair.
So
he's like, I just don't want to deal with that.
Yeah. So part of the deal for Tiberius becoming emperor was that he had to adopt Germanicus as his heir, which was a very popular decision because everyone loved Drusus the Elder, his father, and everyone loved Germanicus, and no one loved Tiberius. So they were like, okay, fine. Once old Tiberius dies, Germanicus can be emperor.
Perfect.
Germanicus died of an illness a few years into Tiberius's reign. However, there are rumors that it was actually poison. Yeah. He had quarreled with a man named Piso shortly before his death, which is where this rumor comes from. We're not going to go into detail on that because it's not that important to us. But this left Tiberius' own son as heir apparent, Drusus the Younger. Strangely, though, he took ill and died too. We'll talk about that in a little bit. Germanicus, though, had several children by Agrippina the Elder. Again, if you're a little confused by this, you can go to thegreatpodcast.net, and there is a family tree simplified so that you can visualize all of this. But it is now likely that one of these children, or Drusus the Younger's son Gemellus, will become the heir. Okay? So the children of Agrippina and Germanicus are Nero Caesar, Drusus Caesar, Gaius Julius Caesar, who we know is Caligula, and then Agrippina the Younger, and then there's actually two more daughters that I didn't include on this family tree. Anyway, that aside, we need to talk about an important man in Tiberius's reign called Sejanus. He was the Praetorian prefect.
Okay.
So you recall what a Praetorian prefect is?
Yeah, I think so.
Basically,
Like
the
the
leader
honor
of
guard?
he's the leader of the Praetorian Guard, which is
There
the
you go.
emperor's guard.
Yeah.
So Tiberius grew weary of emperorship in the first decade of his rule. He was like, this sucks. I hate this. I don't want to do this. So he left the running of the government mainly to Sejanus,
Okay.
which makes him insanely powerful. Meanwhile, Tiberius went off to the island of Capri, which is just an island, not a huge deal. By this time, he's in his mid-60s. Sejanus set up a permanent camp for the Praetorian Guards in Rome. And this is, when I say camp, it might be a little confusing. This was like a walled settlement within the city for the guard, like barracks, walls, a fortified position for them.
Fortified barracks.
Which kind of sounds like a power grab.
A little bit.
Yeah. He also built up their power by adding more men and accumulating more responsibilities for himself. He was soon more powerful than the consuls. Only Tiberius outranked his authority, but Tiberius was gone.
Yeah, he was like, I'm good, man. You got this.
No one saw or spoke to the emperor without Sejanus' permission. Tiberius heard nothing that Sejanus did not want him to hear.
Right.
Yeah. A couple years after the death of Drusus the Younger, this is Tiberius' son, Sejanus requested permission to marry Drusus' widow, Livilla. So the widow of Tiberius' son, this man who is not even a nobleman, he's a knight, is requesting to marry the widow of the emperor's son.
How dare he?
Yeah, this was no.
How dare you?
You'll remember Augustus's strict moral rules about class and marriage and stuff. That was still in effect, and this was a no, massive no. But that didn't slow Sejanus down. In 29 AD, he had Agrippina the Elder, widow of Germanicus, and her eldest son Nero arrested.
Okay.
He claimed that they were plotting for Nero to succeed Tiberius, which is probably true.
Yeah.
I mean, it makes sense.
One of them, yeah.
Yeah. The two were banished to islands, which you'll see as a common theme at this time.
Good trend going, yeah.
They did that a lot. It's funny, too, because later on there will be some different, this is your punishment.
Right.
My favorite is cutting noses off.
Oh, God.
There's a period later.
Voldemort looking.
Yeah.
Just a bunch of them.
Exactly. Except once you have your nose cut off, you don't become an evil power wizard. You just can't do anything. And you might just die.
I guess.
Back in those days,
That's
nose
fair.
cutting might be fatal.
Yeah.
So Agrippina, in her exile, was beaten so badly that she lost an eye.
Oh, that's no good.
No. These weren't nice exiles.
No.
No, this wasn't, oh, you get to go live in house arrest in a nice mansion out on an island. It was, you're going out there. A few years into captivity, she starved herself to death because she's like, this sucks.
All right.
That's another theme you'll see is starving to death. Nero was then forced to commit suicide. Yeah. Drusus Caesar, second son of Germanicus and Agrippina, was also arrested for treason. And here's a quote from Chris Scar from the Chronicle of the Roman Emperors. Convicted of treason, he was starved to death in a palace cellar. In his extremity, he even tried to eat the stuffing of his mattress.
Ugh.
Yeah.
Gross.
So he wasn't trying to starve himself to death. He was trying not to starve.
Trying to survive.
So you can go ahead and do some crossing off on that there thing. Right. We now have Agrippina dead. Germanicus is dead.
Goodbye.
Yep. Germanicus. Nero.
Also dead.
And Drusus Caesar.
Drusus. Dead.
Yup.
Germanicus is dead?
Yes. Yeah. Germanicus died earlier. So that was in 29 AD. And Sejanus is at the height of his power. In 31 AD, Tiberius was warned, probably for the 1,000th time, that Sejanus was attempting to gain yet more power. Like, dude, open your eyes.
I don't think he cared.
Oh, he cared.
Oh, he cared. Not fine. Really? He leaves the empire to a guy and is like, wait, he's trying to gain power?
Yes. So this warning came from the mother of Livilla, the widow of Drusus the Younger, the woman that Sejanus had tried to marry.
Okay.
It was her mom who said, yo, he's not okay. And that set things off in Tiberius' says, oh, okay, maybe I should look into this. So
finally,
Tiberius sent Naevius Sertorius Macro to sort the situation out. We'll just call him Macro.
All right, yeah.
Yeah, because it's much easier. Macro went to Rome. Sejanus was busy reading a letter from Tiberius to the Senate. Again, he's leading the Senate. He's in charge. So he has received a letter. Again, nothing goes before the Senate without him.
Right.
He receives a letter from Tiberius and he's reading it. And it basically starts with Sejanus is great and awesome and here's why we love him so very, very much. Macro, meanwhile, was taking command of the Praetorians and the city watch.
Oh, okay.
And surrounding the Senate house.
Okay.
The flowery letter about how awesome Sejanus is suddenly changed. Mid flow, he's reading it like, yes, I am awesome and wonderful. And also I'm a tyrant and must be stopped. And probably held there for a moment, a bit confused.
Good timing.
And then the Praetorians came in.
Yeah.
And arrested him on sight. Wow. Because that's what the letter said.
What a play.
What a play. Just brilliant. For a guy who's off not caring about anything going on in the empire, he's just like, you know what? Nah.
I'm just going to arrest you with a letter, my guy.
Yeah,
Here you go.
I'm going to get you. So Sejanus was strangled to death, and his body was cast down the Gemonian stairs.
All right.
These are essentially the stairs of death, where condemned criminals would be dropped off and left to rot in public as kind of a reminder to everyone else.
Wow.
Yeah.
It's a heck of a reminder.
Rome was savage, bro. Like
history is savage.
Just bear that in mind. So another quote from the Chronicle of the Roman Emperors. Sejanus' son and daughter were killed a few days later, and his wife Apicata driven to suicide, but not before she had written a statement accusing Livilla, again the widow of Germanicus, or of Drusus, excuse me, of complicity in the death of Drusus. So she was saying Sejanus and Livilla killed Drusus with poison. In the weeks which followed, friends and supporters of Sejanus were hunted down and killed with a ferocity which shocked contemporaries. Which, it's hard to shock the Romans.
Right.
And they've been living with, mayhem and slaughter for a long time.
Long time.
So I don't normally read the headings that I have in here, but I need to share with you that this one is called Tiberius the Sad Horny Man. So that's what this section is called.
How fitting.
So Tiberius was free of his Praetorian guard. However, he was deeply disturbed. Drusus the Younger had been poisoned by his wife with the help of Sejanus, Tiberius' most trusted
allegedly
advisor. Probably. They tried to get married afterwards. So
what's your point? You know?
yeah, he'd also lost his brother and best friend, Drusus the Elder, a long time ago.
Yep.
He was forced to divorce the love of his life at Augustus's command. The man who'd been running the show for him was a traitor. All of these things had happened, and this poor dude.
Yeah, not a great life.
Yeah, like he's painted as a pretty bad guy in history, but you kind of look at it and go, I kind of get it.
Yeah, he's just miserable after like that midlife.
And the public still hated him. They were not fans of Tiberius at all. Because of this, his last decade of rule was spent on the island of Capri. Yeah. He didn't come back.
That's fine. Yeah, I get that.
Now, an important thing that was going on under Sejanus and basically with the permission of Tiberius was the treason trials. Okay. Which are exactly what they sound like. Anyone who might maybe possibly be a threat was being tried, in big quotes. And killed off.
Someone pointed and said, that one.
Yeah.
Get that one too.
And Tiberius continued this practice after Sejanus because he was so shook by what Sejanus had been doing that now everyone was a treasonous traitor.
Yeah, that makes sense.
One ex-consul was killed for carrying a coin with Tiberius's face into the bathroom.
How dare you bring my face into a dirty place?
Carry a coin.
How dare you have money on you?
Yeah. So he was, like, fear was constant in Rome at this point. And it is this point that I need to give a trigger warning because I'm about to describe the things that Tiberius is most infamous for.
Nice.
They are sexual in nature and involve children.
Oh, boy.
Yeah.
Not nice.
There's going to be a lot of nasty things in this episode. I'm going to give a blanket warning that if you're squeamish and can't deal with that, don't listen to this because this one is pretty bad. So I also need to say that most of this is probably exaggerated to the nth degree.
Okay.
Because
hopefully
nobody liked Tiberius. Nobody likes Caligula. Okay? With that in mind, let's assume that what we're reading is true and go from there. There are some rather graphic quotes from Suetonius, who is my main source that I've been working off of. And I'm going to read a couple of them. On retiring to Capri, he devised a pleasance of for his secret orgies. Teams of wantons of both sexes selected as experts in deviant intercourse and dubbed. So I don't know if this is supposed to be analists. That's how it's spelled, not analysts. It's analists. Just going to go with that. Copulated before him in triple unions to excite his flagging passions. Its bedrooms were furnished with the most salacious paintings, and sculptures, as well as with an erotic library in case a performer should need an illustration of what was required. Yep. So lots of just dirty stuff painted everywhere, orgies going on, bunch of young men banging each other for his amusement. Great stuff. He acquired a reputation for still grosser depravities that one can hardly bear to tell or be told, let alone believe. I can't say these things, now let me write them down, is what Suetonius is saying. For example, he trained little boys, who he termed tiddlers, to crawl between his thighs when he went swimming and tease him with their licks and nibbles.
Oh, God.
And unweaned babies he would put to his organ as though to the breast, being by both nature and age rather fond of this form of satisfaction. Yeah.
No.
Big no. Big hardcore no. Also, I don't know exactly what he means by that last bit of like being by both nature and age rather fond of this form of satisfaction. I don't know if he means oral sex or if he specifically means the baby thing, but I'm like, I think a lot of people like oral sex.
Right.
It's a strange thing, but overall disgusting and bad. And there's more. Like, I'm not going to go into more, but yeah, not good stuff. And apparently this is what was going on the entire time he was on Capri. Apparently he really liked young and teenage boys. Those were his favorites. As mentioned, likely exaggerated, but it's not outside the realm of possibility.
Right.
There are crazy perverts, and if they have a lot of power, who knows? So now let's talk about little boots on Capri. Let's review the family tree. Tiberius' son Drusus is dead.
Yep.
His young son Gemellus, or he has a young son named Gemellus, who I don't have listed on there.
Right.
So he's probably not the heir.
Yeah, doesn't matter.
Germanicus was adopted and named heir, but he died. So too did his wife and two eldest sons.
Yep.
So that leaves us with Caligula.
Yes.
That's really the only one left in the Julio-Claudian family tree that's really in a position to become the next emperor. And Tiberius is now getting close to 70.
Jeez. Getting up there.
Yeah. It's kind of wild how old some of these people.
Yeah, for real.
Some people have this misconception that the life expectancy, being low back in the day means that old age was 35. That's not what it meant.
It's just you died a lot more in war.
You died more in war, and children died a lot.
Oh, yeah.
So the average age
bring it down.
was much lower. But like once you lived to be in your 50s and 60s, you're like a human. You
right.
Just, especially for emperors and stuff, they had food
the ones
and
that have all of the necessities and more.
People. I always argue with people. Like, no, they died. It's like they could die younger. It was possible, but people can't. Like humans aren't living 40 years longer than they used to.
Right, no.
It's just not true. But anyway, many expected Tiberius to kill off Caligula because he was killing off everyone else in the family because they might overthrow him.
Right. Well, now he's super old. He's probably just like, someone's got to take over.
Yeah, true. Yeah, and he actually invited Gaius to come to Capri and live with him. And we don't know if it was going to be like, come live with me until I find a good reason to kill you. But that never happened. Also, he would have been known as Emperor Gaius. All the sources call him that. But everyone in modern times knows him as Caligula. Yeah. So we'll go with that. Hey, look, I didn't even read that, but that was the next part of my notes to emphasize that. So the young man was incredibly charming and polite. He was around 17, 18 at the time that he came to Capri. Many tried to catch him out so Tiberius would have a reason to execute him. A quote from Suetonius on Capri, though every trick was tried to lure him or force him into making complaints about Tiberius, he ignored all provocation, dismissing the fate of his relatives as if nothing had occurred, affecting a startling indifference to his own ill treatment.
Smart.
Yes, very smart. He was very cunning in that way. He put on a show of, I love Tiberius. He's great. Yeah, he killed my mom. Whatever. He killed my brothers.
It was
Sejanus. Like, whatever. Like, not a big deal. He truly did appear to love him, and he hid any misgivings very well. According to most of the sources, he was a natural actor. Very good at keeping on a straight face and charming anyone around him. Soon, Tiberius named him heir, and the two got on quite well. In fact, Caligula seemed to love the devious things that went on Capri. So cruel was the young man's nature that even Tiberius recognized it. Yeah.
Even Tiberius like, maybe that's too far. I don't know.
Little bit. The aging emperor encouraged the young man to focus on arts and theater in the hopes of slowing his cruel desires. And Caligula loved that too. He loved the theater. He loved acting. It was great. It's kind of strange because what I understood of ancient history or ancient Rome is that they kind of viewed actors like prostitutes. Like they were low. Like, you don't want to be an actor. But Caligula enjoyed it. However, he greatly enjoyed sexual depravity and the sight of torture and execution.
All right.
Yeah. According to Suetonius, Tiberius often said Caligula's life would prove the death of him and the ruin of all, and that he was nursing a viper for Rome. Who knows if that's true, but it's pretty cool.
Yeah.
While on Capri, Caligula befriended Macro.
Okay.
This is I didn't mention this, after taking out Sejanus, Macro became the Praetorian prefect.
That makes sense.
It does make sense. If you're going to take out the top guy, you better get his spot, right?
Right.
There was still some mistrust between Tiberius and Caligula at this point, obviously, because, I don't trust you. You murdered my family, blah, blah, blah. But Macro actually helped smooth this over.
Okay.
Which put Caligula in a good spot. Macro and Caligula formed a friendship so close that Macro even gave his young friend a pass for sleeping with his wife.
Wow. Okay. That's real close.
Yeah. Like, they're buddies, Eskimo brothers here.
Right.
It seems like he cared more about gaining power than his own image, Macro. And he was right to bet on Caligula. He was going to ride that wave to the top. So Caligula spent several years on Capri. In 35 AD, Caligula was named co-heir with Tiberius's grandson, Gemellus.
Okay.
Which kind of makes sense. 2 years later, Tiberius died. He had ruled for 23 years and was almost 78 at the time.
That's an old man.
Yeah. And remember, Augustus was almost 76.
Right.
So both of them lived a long time.
And Augustus, surprisingly, because he was always sick.
Yes. And Tiberius was a sad, miserable man.
Yeah, that's true.
Caligula was then declared emperor, and celebrations began. Yay! a young, spry emperor who is the son of our beloved Germanicus. And we've had old men for like 40 years.
Right.
Because Augustus was old for the last bit of his reign, and Tiberius is old.
For almost all of his reign.
Now we've got this young man who's going to turn it all around. Woo!
Maybe not.
But then word came through that Tiberius was not dead.
Oh.
Yeah.
That's a twist.
What a twist. This was not good. Those who had proclaimed Caligula emperor fled.
What? Wow. It's just like, we got word that he's dead. All right, cool. New emperor. Yeah. I'm not dead. But what?
I'm not dead.
Come on, man.
The treason trials were still going on.
Yeah.
Yeah, this was horrible, and everyone was so scared. What do you think happened?
I think Caligula came back and was like, yeah, no, he's actually dead, though.
Wink, wink, nudge, nudge.
Maybe.
Close. Macro stepped in.
Oh, okay. Good. Smoothing it over again.
He rushed to Tiberius's chambers and smothered him.
Yeah, no, it's fine. He was actually dead.
He was,
no,
guys. We were wrong at the
changed.
second time.
Nothing changed.
We had it right
dead
on the first.
The whole time. Nothing changed between then and there.
Don't worry about the handprint marks or anything. He died in his sleep. We're pretty sure. Or at least he's sleeping now.
Good man. Way to go.
Yeah. It's possible someone else did this on his behalf and not actually Macro, but it's cooler if Macro did it. It's also possible that he just died. But it's way cooler to say that part happened. Plus, Macro had good reason to do this because he had promised to marry Macro's daughter when he became the emperor. So he's like, okay, we need to get that going.
Yeah.
We need to start making some babies. My lineage will become that of the imperial family. And thus, the second emperor of Rome was dead.
Sad day.
Great day. The people cheered and celebrated in the streets.
They hated that old man.
They did. So they were expecting another great age, like under Augustus. So Caligula ascended to the purple on March 18th, 37 AD. From his days on campaign with Germanicus, back when he was little boots, Caligula was loved by the common people and the soldiers. They knew who he was. He was a very important part of the royal family. They loved him. The 25-year-old leaned into this by putting on elaborate games, as you do.
Yeah.
Suetonius claims that 160,000 animals were sacrificed during these 3 months of celebrations.
That's a lot. That's a lot
of animals.
Yeah.
And Caligula's first few months saw a lot of action. First off, he went to the islands where his mother and brothers had been killed and returned to Rome with their ashes so they could be stored in the tomb with Augustus.
What a guy.
Where they belong. He then announced the end of the treason trials.
Good.
We're not doing that anymore.
Finally.
And he burned all the documents.
Okay.
We are done with that crap. Not doing that anymore. Tiberius, to his credit, had been very frugal and had a great wealth stored in the treasury.
I mean, the man he went to an island and was like, I'm just going to chill out here.
Yeah.
I'm done.
Fair. Yeah.
We're going to just, whatever, collect
army
money,
stop.
whatever.
We're not building new stuff. Just stop.
Yeah.
Just put it all away.
I don't care what you do. I'm a chill.
Yeah. So Caligula used a bunch of this money to give bonuses to the army and the Praetorian Guard.
Good.
Very smart play. You got to keep those guys happy. This is a tradition that will carry on and become a massive issue.
Yes.
Yeah. But it is an important tradition to give a bonus to the army and the Praetorians. A bunch of those who had been exiled by Tiberius were recalled.
Okay.
Yeah, so good stuff. He's kind of undoing a lot of the things that people didn't like.
That were pretty extreme and just irrational.
Yeah. I don't think I said this, actually. The treasury had 2.7 billion sesterces.
That's a lot. No, you just said there was a lot there.
Yeah. So I just wanted to point that out. It is a lot. I tried to figure out what that might be. Somewhere it said $2.2 per sesterce. I don't know.
Whatever, man.
Yeah, it's a lot. A lot of money. So things were going very, very well for these first 6 months. And then Caligula got very ill.
God, dude.
Yeah. This may have been many things. He might have been poisoned. It's, people are always looking for power. Yeah. He may have contracted some illness. Just a natural thing. The stress of his job may have overwhelmed him. He's a young man. No real position of power prior to this. And now
That's true. He did just kind of step into it.
Yeah. He wasn't a general. He wasn't a governor. He was on Capri from like 18 until he was 25. So, yeah, he's just basically partying, and then suddenly he's the most powerful man in the world.
Right.
Or this may have been a severe episode of epilepsy, which had plagued his younger years.
Okay.
Yeah, no one knows for sure. This was bad because there was no heir.
Right.
And the common people were upset. They loved Caligula, and now he might die after 6 months. One man, Secundus, said that he would go into the arena and face gladiatorial combat should it spare Caligula's life. People were in the streets.
If only it worked like that.
Crying these things out. Another, Publius, said he would gladly give his own life in place of the emperor's.
Wow.
This was big. Fortunately, after a while, Caligula did recover.
He made it. He pulled through.
Let's go, our boy Caligula. This would have been a short episode, and you would have been like, why did you choose this guy? You cut over Tiberius.
A lot of buildup for...
yeah, for nothing. But he was not the same man anymore.
Well, that's right. He faced death. He stared it down. Said, all right, it's time to do some stuff.
Paranoia was the order of the day from here forward.
It's like, who poisoned me? Who did it?
Yeah. It is speculated that Caligula's brush with death showed him that he was vulnerable. Many were trying to take his place, obviously. A lot of people want to be emperor. And he saw traitors everywhere.
He's a bunch of paranoid people.
Yeah. His father-in-law, by a wife who had died years before in childbirth, was forced to commit suicide, as was Tiberius's grandson, Gemellus, who was around 18 at this time. So the co-heir, he was supposed to be co-ruler, but Caligula was having none of that when he first came to the throne. Basically just said, no, that's not part of the will of Tiberius. Let's just cut that part out.
Like, nope, didn't see it.
And a quote from Suetonius on this: his brother, Tiberius Gemellus, he had put to death in 37 or 38 AD, sending a military tribune to carry out the order without warning. His charge against Gemellus was that he had insulted him by taking an antidote against poison, his breath smelling of it, when it was merely medicine for a chronic and worsening cough.
How dare you try to protect yourself?
From my poison.
Kill him.
That I might have someday. The theory of this is that he was saying, you're taking antidote. The only reason you would do that is because you're trying to poison me.
Oh.
So I'm going to kill you.
Okay.
Yeah. Which
good
is
spin.
pretty...
Good spin.
Yeah, it's a good spin, but it's dubious at best. This caused Caligula and Gemellus' mutual grandmother to commit suicide out of grief.
Oh.
Yeah, not good. Not good. The family's fighting. So a bunch of his family members are now dead. He had an uncle named Claudius, who you can see on the family tree, whom he left alive because he found the old man to be a point of ridicule. Yeah.
I'm going to keep you alive so I can make fun of you forever.
He was believed to have some kind of mental disability and possibly physical deformity. It's unclear.
Unfortunate.
Yeah. So he basically kept him around as a jester.
Yeah.
Yeah. Many powerful people were arrested or were erased from the playing field. Arrested. Silly me. Who do you think was the biggest threat to Caligula at this point?
I don't know. Everyone's dead. The right-hand man?
Macro.
Yeah, Macro. There we go. That's his name.
Yes. But Macro was right by the emperor's side. He was helping carry out these orders.
He was like, nah, fam, what you do, I got you.
But Caligula did recognize that there was great risk in having such a powerful man around. But he also appreciated what Macro had done for him. So instead of killing him, he's like, hey, okay, let's do this instead. I'm going to promote you to governor of Egypt.
Oh, okay.
Keep you far away.
Yeah, you go live in Egypt and you're powerful. You know?
Yep. You'll be keeping it in order over there for me. And I won't need to worry about the guy who might have possibly killed the last emperor.
Right.
Great. So he sends him off and didn't get far. It was a trap. Yeah.
Come on, man.
when they got to the port, once they were away from the city and away from the Praetorian guards who might have stood up for Macro, he was arrested with his wife and they were sent off to prison where they killed themselves. It's great.
Man.
It's a great time. Yeah. No good. No good at all.
Guy that just did everything for you. Whatever you wanted, he was like, I got you.
I got you, fam. You slept with my wife. This is the same wife that he had slept with.
Eskimo brothers.
Yeah.
I mean, just just like that.
Yeah.
That's rough.
Remember those 2 noblemen who made public claims about wanting Caligula to survive?
Mm-hmm.
Publius had said that he'd give his life for Caligula's.
Right.
Well, Caligula lived. Time to pay up.
Okay.
These are oaths to the gods.
They're
bro.
like, well, you gotta die now.
Yeah. Quote from Suetonius, he handed the man to his slaves with instructions to deck the man in sacred wreaths and ribbons, drive him through the streets while calling for him to fulfill his oath, and then toss him from the embankment into the Tiber River. Yeah, man, you got to pay up.
I guess.
He lived.
Did the other man go fight?
Secundus promised to fight as a gladiator.
All right, there you go.
So he did.
There you go.
How do you think that went?
He died.
No.
Oh, really?
Apparently, he was not
good
boasting.
at fighting.
Yeah, he won his bout.
Okay.
Caligula needed to be convinced not to kill him anyway, but he did live.
It's like, I just did what I said I was gonna do, man. Come on.
Yep, he did it. So things were now looking a lot less bright. Those first 6 months had been great. Now,
Yeah, now he's starting to go crazy now, just like Tiberius did.
Yeah. Fear had returned to Rome so shortly after it had subsided. They were like, we just got over this.
Yeah.
We don't want this, except Caligula was here.
Mm-hmm.
Tiberius had been away.
Yeah.
Caligula continued working on running the empire and governing it, which is good. He wasn't just a madman running around. This was more I'm fearful of everybody.
Yeah.
But I'm
a
still
very
running.
Paranoid, powerful person who still wants
Yeah.
to run the empire.
In 38 AD, after his illness and recovery, he set about doing things like paying for property lost due to fires, abolishing certain taxes, and hosting more games and sporting events. So, good and bad.
Mm-hmm.
Good things were happening, but some people were still pretty critical of the number of executions without trial. But,
Don't even look at that. Who needs a trial? He's the judge and the jury.
And executioner.
I'm sure someone else killed him. He just told them to.
Sometimes.
Oh.
Yeah. Crazy guy, Caligula.
I guess.
But we'll talk about that later. So speaking again of Tiberius, you recall how much money I said was in the treasury.
A lot.
2.7 billion
There you go.
sesterces. Yeah, this was a lot of money.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, I did do this. Okay, I did the math. I thought I did.
Oh, you just did it later.
I did it later.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay. I was like, I thought I did. Yeah. So this, you got to take this super grain of salt. We don't know what these numbers actually would be like, but apparently a sesterce is approximately 2.2 US dollars.
Okay.
At some point. I don't know when that number was estimated.
Yeah.
Again, whatever. With that estimate, that meant that Caligula had around $5.94 billion in reserve.
Mm-hmm.
On top of money that was still coming in.
Got nothing on Bezos.
Yeah, true. But back then, you got to think what the U.S. government having that much money would have been like in 1700 or 1800.
Yeah, it's ridiculous.
It would be so much. And then you go back 2,000 years.
Yeah.
It's a ridiculous amount of money. But so that was so he came to the throne in 37 AD.
Mm-hmm.
By 39 AD, he was broke.
Bruh.
Yeah.
You just spent all the money with no more revenue. You're just like, get rid of it.
No, there was more revenue, just not enough. Not enough to keep up. Let's look at a couple of the major expenses. 2 massive ships were built. It's not clear what each of these ships was for, but the larger of the 2 was a pleasure barge. It was 240 feet by 66 feet wide.
That's what you call a yacht, right?
Yes.
There.
A pleasure barge
Yeah.
for sure. 70 meters by 20 meters for those who use smarter numbers than we do,
right?
Or measuring systems. This thing was decked out with heating and plumbing, baths, and even marble floors.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
On a
Yeah.
ship.
You're talking about pleasure. Yeah. Cruise right there.
Floating
Dang.
palace
Yeah.
is an accurate description. So I actually mentioned this to you. These are the things I was saying we found in recent memory.
Gotcha.
I was super excited while researching because I saw that we found these 2 ships in 1930.
Oh.
And then they were destroyed in World War II.
Dang it.
I'm so unhappy.
I hate war.
I do too. It's stupid and the
Destructive.
history. Yeah, why you gotta break things, man? Okay, moving on. So he built those 2 ships, very expensive. He repaired the ancient city wall of Syracuse. It's a pretty good thing to spend money on. Completed construction projects started before his reign, like the Temple of Augustus. He built a new amphitheater and a massive racetrack known as the Circus of Gaius and Nero.
Okay.
He continued gifts of food and coin to the masses at events. So just handing out coins, bread during events.
Okay.
Lots of it. Bonuses to the army and the Praetorians, as we mentioned. Bribes and gifts to keep powerful people happy while I'm killing everyone else.
Right.
Yeah. In 39 AD, he built a bridge across the Bay of Baiae. I don't know if that's how you say that, but that's how I'm going to say it. Now, this sounds like, okay, you built a bridge, right? Sources vary, but this bridge would have been between 2 and 3 miles long.
Oh my God.
That's insane by modern standards.
Yeah, that's wild.
That's stupid. How does one do it? You got to start accounting for the curvature of the earth at that point.
Yeah.
Just a little bit.
So long.
So long. This was 2,000 years ago. The bridge was ordered by Caligula and would only exist for a few days. Yep. How do you think you make a bridge like that?
A lot of boats.
What do you mean by a lot of boats? Like using them
like
to move out the
barge
materials
types,
and
yeah.
stuff? Wrong. They used boats lashed together.
Oh, they just made a bridge out of boats.
Yeah, and then covered over it with dirt and then essentially asphalt to make a road.
Oh my goodness. I mean, yeah, all right. Yeah, that makes, I suppose.
Yep.
But that's not smart.
Well, so after it was completed,
Uh-huh.
Caligula spent 2 days going back and forth across the bridge on horseback and chariots.
Yeah.
You know, as you do.
Was he like, this thing is a little unstable, destroy it?
Well, I was going to ask, why do you think he built it? What was the point?
Why? Could just say he could to parade around? I don't know.
So there's a few possible reasons put forward. There's one theory that he did this to outdo Xerxes of the Persian fame. He built a bridge across the Hellespont, which was huge, not as big as Caligula's.
That's right.
And he used it to cross with a military, or with an army.
For a reason.
For a good reason.
Right.
Another reason is he wanted to display Roman military engineering to frighten the Germans and the Britons in advance of their wars.
All right.
Okay. But Suetonius tells that this was because of Tiberius's soothsayer. You know what a soothsayer is?
No, a medicine woman.
No, they're fortune tellers.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah, so they would like cut out open animals and read the intestines and stuff. Yeah, super well respected at the time.
Right,
this was a legit thing. While Tiberius was trying to plan his succession, the soothsayer told Tiberius, quote, Caligula had no more chance of becoming emperor than of galloping to and fro over the Gulf of Baiae.
Just really rubbing it in. You know, I get it. That's fair.
Yeah.
All right.
Isn't it just dumb?
Yeah. It's really stupid. But he's like, I'll show you.
I'll do it just to prove you wrong. So that's the one I go with.
That'd be so expensive.
So expensive. One ancient source, Seneca, also claims that the use of these boats dramatically slowed the grain shipments from Egypt.
I bet. Yeah, they probably didn't have enough boats anymore. It's like just connect them. Just go over there and make a line of boats.
Sir, what about the food shipments?
Did you hear me?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Right on. I'm on it.
God. It's so dumb.
This perhaps caused or helped along a famine during the financial crisis that came from this. It's a little unclear about this famine. Actually, there's a famine during his reign, but we don't know much about it, so kind of hard to say.
Know what happened,
but yeah. So you can see all the spending. It's quite a mixed bag of like, okay, good building projects, and what?
Yeah.
Why?
Yeah.
Why are you doing
just
that?
Ridiculous things.
Naturally, all this spending needs to be paid for somehow.
No, just move away. Take a note from Augustus and move away. They can't charge you if you just leave.
You're thinking of Caesar.
Oh, Caesar.
Yep, but
okay.
But speaking on Augustus, Augustus actually had a method for getting money when he didn't have any.
Okay.
So we'll talk about that. So his first approach was to just politely ask the public to donate.
There you go.
Look, we're going to build this awesome thing, this bridge. You don't need to know. Don't ask why. We're going to do it.
Don't worry about it.
Donate some money. Then he started taxing things like weddings and prostitution.
Okay.
On top of this, he may have opened a brothel in the palace.
I mean, if you're going to tax a business, make the business, I guess, you know?
And if you're also a horny pervert who just wants a brothel nearby,
that's
put
also
it in your
works.
house.
Yeah.
Yeah. Soldiers had to hand over any loot they plundered to the state.
Well, I mean, okay.
Bad idea, but...
It's not going to make the soldiers happy.
And Augustus's tried and true method, arrest someone, have them executed,
their money.
and take their estate.
Not a bad plan.
Pretty smart. This financial crisis is questioned by modern historians, but let's just say some of this is totally true.
Mm-hmm.
Some people don't know how bad it actually was. Or we don't know how bad it actually was. Which I keep going back to. I got to say, while researching, I've started to realize that history is not simple. And a lot of the times, the narrative you hear in like a 10 or 20-minute video, you could really argue that probably isn't true.
Right.
But we're going to go with that he did all of these things, and it was really bad. Okay, cool. So, by 39 AD, things were looking rough, and the Senate were getting angry.
Well, yeah, he's running the country into the ground, or the empire.
Yeah. And they had spent nearly a decade with Tiberius gone, essentially self-ruling.
Yeah.
The Senate was kind of back in charge.
Amassing money, just having a good time.
Now Caligula had spent 2 years ruining everything.
Quickly. Did a good job at it.
If that was his goal,
right.
he is succeeding very much. Seeing this new hostility from the Senate, Caligula went to his filing cabinet. Remember those treason trial papers that I said he burned?
You just file them away.
Yeah, he lied. Dio, another source who wrote like 200 years later, claims that he had created copies of the documents and then had those burned in public.
He probably burned something in public, really sell it.
So he started hunting through these old documents to find new crimes with which to charge the senators. The treason trials are back, people. Let's go. Woo!
God. This dude's in charge for 6 months, almost dies, and then just goes off the handle.
Just right down.
Yeah.
Right down. It was around this time that Caligula also started seeing himself as a living god.
Well, naturally.
I mean, he is.
Right.
I mean, look, he's the most powerful man in the world.
Yeah. I'm in charge of all of this. I mean, must be a god.
Must be. Typically, rulers were deified after death.
Right.
This happened with Augustus and Caesar. Even Augustus's wife had been deified.
Okay.
And so, and to clarify what deified means, now there are temples to them and people worship them and all that. Very common. But Caligula had no patience for this. He's 27 years old. I got to wait 50 years till I die.
No, I'm a living god emperor.
If Tiberius or Augustus had started at like 20 years old, they would have ruled for so long.
Yeah.
Jesus. Okay. Anyway, tangent there. So in the eastern provinces, many already kind of worshipped. They were more okay with worshiping a living person as divine. That was okay.
Okay.
In the West, not so much.
It's like, nah.
Especially for the Senate, who were like, dude, you don't need more for your ego. He gave himself. So I didn't include this, so I'm going to be kind of off the cuff here. But Augustus, over many years, had slowly accrued many titles and like these great things bestowed upon him.
Yeah.
Caligula was like, give them all to me now.
Well, right.
I am the best.
Yeah.
So the Senate was like, dude, no, you're not going to be a god. Stop. And it was around this time that he announced that he would be leaving Rome to reestablish himself in Alexandria.
Okay.
And that's when the Senate and the Praetorians decided that enough was enough.
And they're like, nah.
If he left Rome, they could not really do anything to quell him.
Right.
Because he would be away from them. This was their source of power. Plots were formed to bring the crazy emperor down. Caligula's vigilance and paranoia brought most of these to a swift and very violent end.
Well, yeah, you already didn't trust anybody, so...
But one slipped through the cracks.
There you go.
On January 24th, 41 AD, Caligula was assassinated. The reign of terror had lasted nearly 4 years, and it was finally over. And we'll talk more about the details of that in Departing Demise. Now, I want to let you know that I haven't shared a fraction of the crazy stuff yet.
Oh, God.
What do you think of him so far?
It's crazy.
Insane.
I think it's too bad that he got so close to death after 6 months, because he was doing good in the beginning. He was like, yes, my people, let's do this thing. And then his brain just turned to mush, and he was like, everyone's out to get me. I'll get you first.
And I love execution and perversion.
Right.
Just a terrible combination of things. Yeah, it is kind of unfortunate. It's kind of the what could have been, but you'll see that no one wanted it to continue.
No.
Mastery of military might.
So the astute listener has likely noticed that I have not mentioned warfare in this episode
At all.
I kind of mentioned that he may have built that bridge to scare the Germans and the Britons. That's about the only thing I said. This was intentional because Caligula was involved in one campaign during his short reign, and we're going to talk about it.
Probably didn't go well.
Oh, just wait. According to Suetonius, Caligula decided, somewhat on a whim, that it was time to go conquer Germania.
Naturally, we've been trying to do it for a while. Let's just finish it off.
Augustus and Tiberius had decided not to push past the Rhine after the Varus disaster and his 3 legions being wiped out. Caligula called on soldiers from around the empire and soon had a sizable force ready. Let's go get those Germans once and for all,
Finish it off.
Plus, you got to think, too, that this is where little Caligula had grown up, was out on these frontiers. The march north from Rome was a strange affair, to say the least. Some days, Caligula ordered the march to go super fast. Like, so fast that the Praetorians, who were marching with him, obviously, instead of carrying their standards, which is what you do, they would have to strap them to pack mules because they just couldn't keep up with all their stuff.
Pretty much running.
We got to get there.
Yeah, okay.
But then on other days, he wanted to kind of hang out in whatever village they passed through, or he would demand to be carried in his litter, carried by 8 men, which is obviously much slower than riding a horse.
Yeah, this guy sucks.
Yes. Hold on. Hold on till terrible tyranny.
Oh my God.
Once he arrived at the meeting point for all the legions, obviously there's like, let's meet here. He decided to show how tough a leader he was. Got to get these whippersnappers into shape.
Okay.
Any commander who was late, by his estimate, to arrive was dismissed. Yep. Some older centurions were demoted due to their age. Centurions would have been kind of like sergeants. They were the guys leading smaller groups.
Yeah.
They were dismissed for being older. This despite them being highly experienced leaders.
I don't care about your experience and tactics and knowledge. No.
You're out. You're just goodbye.
Oh my God.
And any who argued for being dismissed.
Dead.
No. They had their bonuses cut in half, which was a pretty big deal.
Well, no, that's a big deal.
That is
money talks.
And they might not, I don't know this, but this is just a thought that occurred to me, that they might not get their promised land. Veterans after 20 years or so would get land
a plot.
to go farm for the rest of their lives. And then their family
retire.
would have that land.
Yeah. Hang out.
Kind of the whole point of conquering
right.
was to get more land for the army. Early on in this campaign, he ran into a British prince and captured him.
I'm unimpressed.
As you should be. Yes, I put in here, yay Caligula.
Yeah, I just, no.
And you might be going, wait, aren't they, I thought they were going to Germany.
Yeah.
Yeah, so this prince had been exiled by his father and didn't have a fighting force. He had like his retainers, his crew. Yeah. And he had actually come from Britain to Europe essentially to surrender and find refuge. Okay.
Well, Caligula needs a win, so
and
too
he got
bad
one.
for you.
He got one. Still, Caligula ordered messengers to ride day and night to get the message to Rome, and only the consuls could receive the message, and it had to be read before the whole Senate. He had captured a British prince. For the listeners at home, Jordan is putting his head down in embarrassment.
The amount of disappointment, it is ridiculousness. I just
you can see why I skipped Tiberius to just talk about Caligula today. Okay. Then one day, word was brought to the emperor. German soldiers were spotted nearby and were approaching their camp.
Oh boy.
Caligula jumped on his horse and rushed off into the woods. Gotta go get him. He had his cavalry guards and personal aides with him.
Yeah.
So, a sizable cavalry force.
Okay.
Took off.
In the forest.
Yeah.
With lots of room for
that's
horses.
Where the enemy is.
Yeah.
Let's go. After a long day, the men returned.
All right.
They proclaimed victory over the enemy.
Okay. Were any of them bloody or dirty at all? Did they find an enemy?
They were dirty. They were carrying sticks and twigs and... Yeah, you might be asking, what enemy? The soldiers probably were
bloody.
Bloody? No. I mean, I think Paul over there fell and scraped his knee at one point.
God.
Yeah. You might be asking, what enemy? And the soldiers were asking this too, but they were asking very quietly.
Yeah.
it would seem that there was no enemy, and Caligula simply wanted everyone to think he had been a great warrior who charged ahead and took out the enemy. Yeah, there was no one there.
This guy,
Yeah.
terrible.
Yeah.
Wow, I can't.
He's my favorite.
They should kill him right now.
Oh, we'll get
That
there.
force should have just been like, he died to battle
We
wounds.
don't know what happened. Guys,
Yeah.
did anyone see what happened to the emperor? Oh, no, I think, it must have been those Germans that he saw in the
He
woods.
fell off his horse and broke his neck. Sad day.
Oh, shucks. Oh, he's still twitching.
There you go. He's
All right.
nice
No, he's good. He pulled a similar stunt a few days later where he took some hostages from a grammarian school. Okay. And sent them running away from the camp.
Oh, my God.
He jumped on
Did he
his horse
chase them down?
and chased them down. After capturing them, he held a great celebration for his brave deed.
But he didn't. Did he execute him?
I don't know.
Okay.
I hope
Okay.
not.
Yeah, right? Like,
Yeah.
oh, my God.
To top all of this off, he issued an edict, which is essentially a law. This edict called the people back home cowards for not being more like Julius Caesar and himself.
Okay, you're just
In
my
Rome
God.
eating your fine meals and watching games while I'm out here like the great Caesar himself
Okay.
fighting in Gaul and Germania. Yeah.
Caesar would spit on you.
Oh, he would kill him.
Yeah.
Oh, Augustus is rolling in his grave.
Yeah.
Well,
Oh
he's
my
cremated,
God.
so he's blowing dust
That's right.
in the wind.
He's just forming a little ash tornado.
So that's it. That's his.
They didn't actually do anything.
No,
They didn't actually fight anyone.
no.
My God.
Mastery of military might.
Zero. Zero.
Yeah, I think you are right, and I knew
Zero.
you would say zero. I'm gonna put it on there.
What the fuck?
My only thing is, he organized a massive army.
He was the emperor. He said, "Hey, if you can fight, we're gonna go to Germany and win." How hard is that? How hard is it to do that? He didn't do anything.
Do I give him one?
No.
Do I give him one?
No, he did nothing. He has no military training.
You're right.
He didn't do anything. He didn't fight at all as a
Correct.
young man or anything at all.
Yeah.
He just staged a couple. Oh, we won the day, boys. It was very obvious not a fight.
I can't believe I left this out, Jordan.
Tell me more.
This is good that I just know a bit of history and can remember
Okay.
this off the top. So near the end of this campaign, and this might be a mistranslation and a misunderstanding of what actually happened.
Okay.
So there was a plan to invade Britain,
Mm-hmm.
and they got to the northern coast of Gaul, northern France,
Mhm.
ready to cross the channel. And he started ordering his troops to pick up seashells. All right. At which point he declared victory over Neptune. I think it's Neptune.
What?
Yeah.
They picked up the seashells?
The soldiers picked up the seashells, and then they won. They beat Neptune. I don't know how I forgot to put that in.
Negative. How do you what? This is a child. This is a man child.
Yeah.
Oh
Playing at
my
Soldier Boy.
God.
I mean, he's little boots.
really wanted them to get in a fight.
Yeah.
'Cause he would have died.
Oh,
Well,
he might-
no,
well,
he would've
he would've
ran.
He would have ran.
Yeah,
away.
he would have got away.
Yeah.
And the good soldiers would have protected him like idiots.
Okay, I will give him 0.
Zero.
All right, so solid 0
my
for
God.
mastery of military might. Good job. The next lowest so far is 16 total for
Yeah.
Augustus.
Well, that's because they did things.
They sure did. Okay.
Terrible tyranny.
Terrible tyranny.
This is gonna be a good one.
This is a lot.
Yeah.
I had to. There was a certain point where I went, okay, I'm really starting to not believe this. Because
Okay.
it just keeps going.
Yeah.
Let's start. So the basic ones that we've already kind of discussed. He murdered his adoptive brother and co-heir Gemellus.
Mm-hmm.
Murdered Macro, the man who helped him rise to power.
Oh, that one hurts more.
It does, yeah. He declared an end to the treason trials, but then brought them back when it was convenient
right,
for him. He wasted vast sums of money on stupid building projects that left his state broke and the people starving,
Mm-hmm.
which might be in Lives of the Living more than terrible tyranny.
Both.
Both, yeah. And at this point, I will once again remind you that most of this is highly exaggerated and written by people far in the future.
Right.
Suetonius and Dio claim he had frequent incestuous relations with his 3 sisters. This isn't mentioned by contemporary sources at all, which is why it's dubious. But on our family tree, you will only see one of his sisters, Agrippina the Younger. But there's also Drusilla and Livilla. Drusilla was the oldest and his favorite.
Okay.
Yes. A quote. It is believed that he violated Drusilla's virginity while a minor and been caught in bed with her by his grandmother Antonia, in whose household they were jointly raised.
Is this the same grandmother who committed suicide out of grief?
I believe so.
Ugh.
And she's like, God,
Poor lady.
damn it. Okay, I'm going to end it. Later, when Drusilla was married to Lucius Cassius Longinus, an ex-consul, no less, he took her from him and openly treated her as his lawful married wife. When he fell ill, when Caligula fell ill, he made her heir to his estate and the throne.
Oh, he did this before he got sick?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Oh, yeah, he was a monster before. He just wasn't mean.
Right.
Yeah.
Well,
openly.
Yeah.
Yeah. She died in 38 AD, so real soon in. Apparently, he was overcome with grief and would always mention her divinity when swearing oaths in the future. He had her deified immediately. The other 2 sisters were more like playthings, not loves, toys. Again, according to Sidonius, he would pimp his younger sisters out to important men to raise funds and gain favor. Remember that brothel in the palace? Yeah. Apparently he had them in there. Not good. When the 2 were thought to be involved in a conspiracy to install a man named Marcus Lepidus on the throne, they were exiled for adultery and treason, and Lepidus was executed. Agrippina the Younger apparently wrote an autobiography that is mentioned in later writings, but it's lost to history.
Dang.
I want to know what she had to say, because we would know a lot more about him if we had such a close
be a very
source.
first-hand account.
For sure. Caligula attended the marriage of Livia Oracilla and Gaius Calpurnius Piso. After the ceremony, he sat next to the husband and said, "No dallying with my wife." At this point, he had his guards drag the bride from the building and to his private chambers.
Oh my God.
There he raped her and then declared that they were now married.
He's like, nah, it's my wife. What are you talking about?
Yeah, so love at first sight. He took her. He claimed this was inspired by the legend of Romulus, mythic founder of Rome, who had also kidnapped a woman. I didn't look into that, but that was part of apparently their mythology.
Okay.
A few days later, he divorced her.
Worth it.
If that wasn't bad enough, 2 years later, he heard rumors that she was talking to this former husband.
Yeah, the one that she actually married.
Yeah.
Wild.
He exiled her.
Oh my God.
Yeah. He once heard someone say that the grandmother of a woman named Lalia Paulina was once a great beauty in her youth. So the grandmother of this woman was very beautiful at one time. He ordered Lalila, I'm not sure, to come to Rome. There, he commanded her marriage to a Roman governor be ended. And then he married her. Quickly changed his mind and divorced her. And forbade her to ever sleep with another man.
What's wrong with this guy?
He's nuts.
Yes.
Yes.
Certifiably.
His 4th wife was Melonia Caesonia, which is fun to say.
Yeah.
Apparently, she was the one for him.
Okay.
He took her riding with the troops and showed her off naked to his friends.
Wow, that's what I do with the love of my life. That's for
Yeah.
sure.
What else would you? I don't understand.
Right.
I don't know why this was in this section, honestly. It just sounds normal. She was also quite promiscuous and extravagant. And that's why Caligula liked her. You sleep around and you're cool with being naked in front of my friends. And yeah, I like that.
But all these other women better not ever look at another man, even though I stole you and then divorced you.
Yeah, God forbid.
But I like that you sleep around.
What? Excuse me? That did not stop him often telling her, as he kissed her neck, that he could have it slit at any time he wished. This was apparently a common bit of pillow talk for him. Just making out, kissing on someone. I could have you killed.
I could have you killed and no one would care. All right, cool.
He apparently threatened to make his favorite horse a consul.
What?
This might... There's a theory that this was more along the lines of yelling at the Senate going, you're all worthless. My horse could do better.
Okay.
But it's more fun to say that he actually wanted to do that because he really loved his horse.
Yeah.
He had a very famous racing horse. Yeah. I don't know its name.
That's fine.
But yeah, it's not really that big a deal. When the price of cattle went up and he couldn't afford enough to pay to feed the tigers and stuff for the arena, he fed prisoners to the beasts kept for the games.
There you go. That's right. That's efficiency right there.
And one would think
Good
maybe
economics.
you go, okay, we're going to find the rapists, the murderers. No.
Whatever.
It was whoever's
in the cage.
Whoever I could find.
Just
Yep. We got to feed the lions before the games today. He would often scatter tickets to the arena for the commoners and knights, like just throw them out in the streets and stuff. This kind of seems nice, but the intent was pretty malicious. There would often be conflict in the tickets.
Yeah.
Where a knight and a commoner might end up in the same seat.
Oh,
which
so
is obviously going to cause problems.
Yeah, okay.
Fighting.
What do
and then there's the whole matter of you're a commoner in my seat. I can kill you, kind of thing. Not good.
Mm-hmm.
One time at the circus, the big ass racing thing that he built, he ordered the canopy overhead be opened. So they had like movable shade over the top, like a modern dome.
Mm-hmm.
It was a very, very hot day, and the sun was beating down, no clouds in the sky.
Right.
And he forbade anyone to leave.
Sit here and bake.
Just see what happens. Let's just see how this goes. Yeah. Just cuz. Yeah. Sometimes at the gladiatorial games, he would bring out very old gladiators and nearly dead animals to fight. This was just to piss the audience off.
Yeah, that'd be pretty boring.
Yeah. Especially when you consider that these games were like a central piece of like public life.
Yeah.
Kind of better than dying of dehydration, I suppose.
I guess.
What game did you go to? Well, it wasn't the one where 60 people died of heat stroke, but it was the one where the 40 or the 80-year-old man had to fight a lion with no teeth. Men of high rank were not safe from his torments either. He's been messing with the plebs quite a bit.
He's the highest rank. So.
Yeah. Some important men he had branded, leaving them permanently disfigured, and then he would send them off to work in the mines as punishment for whatever he felt.
Whatever. You know.
Just, It is said that he would make older senators run along behind his chariot in their togas. So old men have to keep up, and probably there's the implied like if you fall,
you might die,
and in a toga. Those are specific. It's like
that's like Senate apparel, isn't it?
Yeah,
like, it's just formal.
It'd be very hard to run it. You wouldn't.
You gotta
hold
it up
do
like
that.
a dress.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I was gonna say it would be like a woman's going out.
Yeah.
Garb. You couldn't really run in it. It would not be easy to do. Other senators he would force to dress as slaves and wait upon him. Like slaves.
Yeah, right.
Yeah. Well, one story says he walked into the Senate House and simply ordered all the senators to brutally murder one of their own, then dismember him and drag the bits around. This is where I kind of go,
maybe not.
I doubt it. That I feel like if you walked in and said that, unless you for some reason brought all the guards with you, they would just go, you know what? Maybe we just kill you and dismember you.
Yeah.
But who knows? Sometimes he would demand someone he had killed previously be brought before him. And after waiting for a while and them not showing up, he would go, they must have committed suicide.
Yeah, that's how it works.
Yeah. Well, they're obviously dead. They didn't show up.
Right. Yeah, I didn't kill them, obviously, because I just asked for them to be brought here. Why would I do that if I killed them?
That would be the thing of a crazy man, he says while he twitches.
Ridiculous.
That would be insane. Fathers were compelled to watch the executions of their sons.
Oh.
One old man claimed he could not come due to his illness. He couldn't make the trip to see his son be executed. What do you think Caligula did?
We got him.
Yeah. Sent his own private litter and a group of men to carry the father to the execution.
Yeah. Like, nah, you're going to watch it.
Yeah, you can get here. I think you can.
We'll get
this is a
here.
big day.
Don't worry. We'll take care of you.
Another father was forced to attend dinner with the emperor the same day his son was executed.
How did he not get assassinated earlier?
I mean, it's less than 4 years. It's
I know,
pretty
but
quick.
this stuff is...
It's wild.
Yeah, I
It's
feel
really
like if
wild.
I was one of those fathers, I would just try to kill him.
He spent the whole evening with that man trying to make him smile after murdering his son. Yeah. We're getting close to the end of this list, and I
Insane.
tell you, like, there was a lot more.
Yeah, I bet.
His favorite form of execution was death by a million cuts.
Oh,
If you're unfamiliar, it is what it sounds like.
Yeah.
You cut someone in very specific ways so that they bleed, but not too much.
mm-hmm.
He's quoted as saying, cut him so he knows he is dying, which is scary.
Yeah.
And another quote to go along with that is, let them hate me so long as they fear me,
Well,
which is probably what most of them did.
yeah, I would.
All right, 2 more things here. He would invite important men to dine with him, senators and other
Mhm.
high-ranking people. Obviously, they would bring their wives with them, 'cause
Right.
it's a formal,
It's a formal
dinner
thing.
with
Mhm.
with the emperor.
They'd sleep with them.
He would look them up and down like cattle at auction
Oh,
and examine them. Then he would choose one to take into the other room.
there you go.
There, he would have sex with her. I would argue to say rape them
Yes.
before returning to dinner, and then basically rating her performance and judging her physical features
Ah, yes.
to the husband and everyone else.
Good
and this
table
poor
talk.
woman is sitting there.
Uh-huh.
Horrifying. And you
Yeah.
couldn't say no to going to dinner with the emperor.
Nope. It'd be a slight.
Yep.
Like, well, I guess you committed suicide.
Shame.
Yeah.
Damn shame
Wild.
that.
You were so distraught you couldn't make it. He just killed himself.
There are many more. But one final note of his insane sadism. While dining with a group of important men, he suddenly burst out laughing. Just sitting there, and then just started laughing. And I bet these men kind of went, well, what's so funny?
Yeah. Yeah.
Emperor. And he replied, quote, only that if I were to give a single nod, both your throats would be cut here and down.
Just what?
Terrible tyranny. What do you think?
Oh man.
It's got to be a 10.
Yeah.
It can't not be.
Yeah.
He is basically known as the crazy emperor.
Yeah, he's setting the standard. You
Oh,
know?
yeah.
He's really putting the bar high.
Yeah. And even if you cut everything we just said in half and only made it half
Yeah.
as bad as it was
Yeah.
or in real
Uh-huh.
life, it was still horrible.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. So I'm giving him a 10.
Yeah, I would agree.
Okay, bet.
Yeah.
All right,
That
wow.
sounds like the standard.
Yeah. What a crazy man. What a crazy man. All right, on to the next.
That's just like the most specific definition of spoiled. Like
Yeah.
he stepped into being the most powerful person in the world with zero buildup at all. Like no reason.
Yeah, didn't deserve it.
No.
Didn't work. Like Augustus worked really hard.
Yeah, he had no position or anything beforehand.
Yep.
And he was just like,
a military
yes,
leader.
now I own everything. Wild.
Yep. And couple that with what is probably like a mental break of some kind.
Yeah.
Sadism.
Yeah.
Like, yeah,
Mhm.
not good at all.
Lives of the living.
Lives of the living. So when you stop and think about it, when you actually look at his reign and you cut out the crazy shit he was doing primarily to the upper class,
Mm-hmm.
the empire's ticking along.
Right.
So I've got my pros and I've got my cons. So
Right.
first 6 months were great.
Mm-hmm.
Treason trials ended. Great celebrations were held. An interesting thing that Suetonius said, and again, Suetonius hates him.
Mm-hmm.
So, quote, he allowed the works of Titus Labienus, Cremutius Cordus, and Cassius Severus, banned by the Senate, to be hunted out, republished, and read freely, stating that it was in his interest to allow historical records to be handed down for posterity. And he published the imperial accounts, reviving a practice of Augustus's discontinued by Tiberius. So he did some like good things and
Right.
kept history going, allowed books that had been banned to be redistributed. Kind of good. He reinstated voting for lower ranking magistrate positions. Just something to be said for that.
Mm-hmm.
These were kind of not that important positions, but voting nonetheless. He added a layer to the court system to make it a bit more efficient. Okay, cool. As I mentioned before, victims of property loss through fire damage were financially compensated. Another quote from Suetonius, and to show that he encouraged noble actions, he awarded a freedwoman 8,000 in gold who, though tortured severely, had not revealed her patron's guilt. So she was being tortured because of the man who, like, basically, after she was freed as a slave, kept her on as an employee. He had done something. She was tortured to try and figure it out, and she didn't.
No, she didn't give him up.
She didn't give him up. So he was like, all right, you can have 8,000 gold. So
you win. You go.
Take that for what it is. He often handed out gifts of coins or food to the populace. He built the bridge across the Bay of Baiae.
Don't care about that.
Which could have been a great wonder for the people who saw it.
Maybe. How long did you say it lasted?
2 days.
Don't care about that.
And then, as I mentioned, overall, the government ticked along. This isn't like the end. This isn't where the empire falls.
He still made him broke.
Yep. Maybe. Yeah. So, and then cons. He was generally a terrible person who might feed you one day and leave you in the sweltering heat the next, all for his own amusement. And that's kind of it for the lives of living. Everything else is kind of his tyranny.
Well, there was a famine.
Yes, potentially.
Potentially a famine due to his actions, maybe directly.
Yep.
And then financial strain.
Yep. Spending too much. Arguably, some of it was spent on great building works for the people. This one's
right.
tough. I've been thinking
his
about it for a
spending
while.
was like half and half on like, what are you doing versus that makes sense.
So
I don't know. I'm just gonna go with a 5.
I was thinking 5 too.
Whatever.
It ticked along.
Yeah, it didn't get much worse in general, and it didn't get much better in general. It just
right. Yeah. From Augustus to Tiberius, things just kind of kept going. Nothing dramatic changed that we see in the record.
Right. It wasn't anything they couldn't quickly bounce back from.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. So a 5. I'll give him a 5 too.
Yeah.
So that's 10 for Lives of the Living.
Departing demise.
All right. Departing demise. So let's look at how he died. So murder plots were in no short supply.
Right.
As you mentioned, people. You said, why did no one kill him? He had a massive network of people to stop that.
Right.
Throughout. Yeah. Everyone knew that Caligula could decide tomorrow to have them killed for any reason, and he might just do that. Even his own guards. Cassius Chera, I think is how you say his name, was a tribune of the Praetorian Guard, so a high-ranking member. He was a very large man and a war hero. However, he had a very high-pitched voice, kind of a goofy voice, and Caligula mocked him constantly.
Good move.
Even calling him a girl in front of other guardsmen, which obviously would piss someone off today, and back then was really bad. You don't do that to a man. So Cassius began plotting. Many others joined him, some whose wives had been raped. Obviously, he did like you said, I want to try and avenge for my wife. Others whose lives were already hanging precariously on Caligula's whims. As always, Caligula's men were torturing many people, hoping to unearth schemes. But this one got through. On January 14th, 41 AD, massive celebrations were being held in honor of Augustus. The plan was simple. Wait for Caligula to walk through one of the narrow passages out of the palace around lunchtime. Use the noise of the celebration as cover. Isolate Caligula in this narrow space from his guards. Stab the crap out of him.
Right.
Run like hell.
Caesar style.
Get out of here. Yeah. This last step of running like hell was real important because the guards did not sit idly by after Cassius approached with his co-conspirators, pulled out daggers, and stabbed the crap out of Caligula. Soon a melee formed in this tight space. Again, there's a lot of people in this narrow, probably like 10-foot wide archway. And this melee forms. Many people died in the fighting. Guardsmen, conspirators, and just some civilians.
Right.
Who happened to be
wrapped
there.
up in it, in the celebrations,
Yep. Meanwhile, another group of assassins stormed the palace. Here they killed Caligula's fourth wife, Caesonia. and then they bashed their infant daughter's
God.
head against a wall.
Aw.
The plan was to remove the royal family and, in some people's minds, return to the Republican ways.
Okay.
Which kind of makes sense after 2 of the 3 emperors being crazy murderers.
Yeah.
However, they did not get all of the family members, and we'll discuss that more next week.
The next one.
Yeah. A man was hiding behind a curtain.
Dang it.
Yeah. So, Departing Demise. What do you think? I think it's pretty good.
Yeah, I think it's pretty good.
It's a little, I don't know, because you mentioned it, that Caesar got a perfect 10 because he's got like the most famous assassination.
It is
death.
the most famous, yeah. I was already thinking like an 8-ish at least.
Being assassinated definitely puts it up there, and it's a pretty cool assassination.
Right.
So
good
far as
plan, good plot.
And then I think on top,
fighting.
the breadth of it, the breadth with a D in there.
Yep.
Of it, going after the family too. I mean,
It's pretty good.
you get assassinated like that, I feel like it's almost got to be a 10.
I'll give him a 9.
Give him a 9.
Just because I haven't heard about it before.
Well, that's not what it's for, though.
I know.
I also wanted. I realized after we had finished Augustus that thing took over 2 hours to record, and we got to Departing Demise, and you were like, "Oh, they probably celebrated after he died a lot and had a great funeral, so 6." And I was like, "That doesn't make sense. Why are we? His funeral doesn't matter."
No.
But give him. Okay, so you're gonna go with 9.
Yeah, it's a pretty big spectacle.
Yeah. Do I want to go for a 10? I will. You went with 9.
Mhm.
I'll give him a 10 so that we have a 19 for
There you go.
Departing Demise. Yeah, it's pretty good. Pretty good.
Yeah.
All right.
He extremely deserved that assassination.
Oh yeah. Way more than I would argue Caesar did.
I was gonna say more than Caesar, whereas I was sad that Caesar got killed, and I'm
great
very
what if.
happy that he finally got killed.
Yeah. not a day too soon.
No,
Yeah.
years late. Just someone should just not. We're not doing this.
I'm done with it. All right, last section.
Lasting legacy.
So, one thing that I found interesting that I couldn't find to fit anywhere else that I just wanted to share. There is an Egyptian obelisk in the modern city of Rome.
Mm-hmm.
It is known as the Vatican obelisk. It was constructed in the time of Augustus in Egypt. It was brought to Rome from Alexandria in 40 AD. The ships that hauled these 85-foot tall slabs of stone must have been something to behold.
Yeah.
Pliny the Elder is a contemporary. We actually talked about him the other day.
Mhm,
He's a
mhm.
contemporary source from this time, but he doesn't describe the ships very well, which made me really sad because I was hoping I could learn a little bit about them. Caligula brought this obelisk and put it in that new circus of Gaius and Nero,
Mhm.
and it's in the Vatican today.
Okay.
And I've seen it. It's pretty cool. So there's just that. I just wanted to share that because it's cool. The next thing, he was the first emperor to be murdered by his Praetorian Guard.
Oh, good. First of many.
Yeah.
Yeah. Setting a precedent.
The lasting legacy on
Yeah.
this one is
Yeah.
Tiberius may have been helped along in death by Macro, which would kind of put him as the first one. But we know
Yes, but it
Caligula
wasn't
was.
like a planned assassination by what we think anyways. It was like a misunderstanding that, well, he needs to die now because
exactly that.
can't go back.
This was the first planned assassination
Yeah.
of an emperor by the Praetorians.
Mhm,
And not all of them.
no.
There's a bunch who obviously were still loyal.
Well, they're probably getting paid. So
And like you said, it will not be the last.
no,
This
no.
Sejanus and Macro are setting a precedent
Mhm.
for Praetorian guards or Praetorian prefects who are too strong.
Yeah.
Although it wasn't his prefect who killed him in this instance,
No.
but that will become a problem moving forward.
Mm-hmm.
So there's that. Now his true legacy lies in becoming essentially the archetype of a tyrannical monarch.
Yeah, that's true.
Like over time, again, most of these stories are probably grossly exaggerated,
Mm-hmm.
but that is now that's kind of the bar that we go,
Yeah.
that's a tyrant.
Mm-hmm.
That is what an evil person does.
Mm-hmm.
He has gone down in history as the mad emperor
Mm-hmm.
who does insane things, vulgar things, sexually and just, horrific torture stuff.
Yeah.
He did little to change the Roman world.
Yeah.
Likely, again, it's exaggerated, and he was just an emperor ticking along and was kind of a dick.
Mm-hmm.
So nothing massive, but he does have a legacy. And I'm curious, this one again is tough because what do you give him? He's not Augustus or Caesar where he changed everything, but he lives on for what he is believed to have done.
I suppose what's your definition of legacy, I suppose?
The fact that you have heard the name
Caligula, yeah,
says something because you're not a history nerd. And I think a lot of people won't know who he is really. Right. But if I said the Mad Emperor Caligula, they'd be like, oh yeah, I've heard of him. So Caesar and Augustus got perfect 20s. I'm thinking 9.
I was also thinking 9.
Okay.
Just because we've heard most people would recognize the name as a name in history, but wouldn't know where it's from. Don't know what he did, but yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Cool. So that is a total of 18 for lasting legacy.
Yeah, not for a good reason though.
That doesn't need
the legacy of badness.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That is it. I'll remind you again.
Right.
That Caesar got total score of 85.5 and Augustus got 82.
Yep.
What do you think Caligula scored? And I'm so sad that it's not okay. Anyway.
So I'm trying to think of the scores that we gave him. Trying to remember things.
He's a mixed bag.
He is a mixed bag, but he did get a 0 on the first one. And he got 10 for the next one.
Sure did.
I'm going to go with 57.
67.
Oh, dang it.
Yeah, you were close. I was like sad that it wasn't. If we had gone 10s,
2 more.
10s on the lasting legacy, would have got, would have been a very nice score.
Yeah.
So, yeah, pretty good. And by that, I mean pretty bad.
Yeah. Yeah.
Now we only have one question left, really.
No.
Well, let's roll the soundbite.
The Great?
So we're establishing that he does not go down as the Great.
No.
Okay.
No, great.
So then I guess it's not one question, it's 2.
It is 2.
Yes. I have a few ideas for a nickname, and I think you might have a couple in mind too, but we'll see. So the one that I really loved is Caligula the Afflicted, because I feel like his mind was broken.
Yeah.
He was afflicted by some kind of demon in his mind.
Seems like it.
I also have the Depraved, the Mad, which is pretty standard, the Butcher, the Wannabe God,
no,
Twisted Tyrant.
Well, that's just nice.
It just flows. I do love my alliteration. And the Evil. I'm partial to the Afflicted or the Depraved, and I'm open to suggestions.
I feel like that gives him too much credit. It makes you want to take pity on him a little bit, and I don't.
So one thing that we haven't really discussed that maybe you could take a bit of pity on, this little boy grew up where his father died suddenly.
Yep, I know. His whole family was murdered.
Lived with a man who murdered his older brothers and his mom. I know. May or may not have had some weird upbringing where he was banging his sister as a young boy. Like, so afflicted, I think, could be. But again, open to suggestions.
No, I don't have anything else.
Okay. Which of these? So
afflicted is fine.
You think so?
Yeah.
Okay. So I would say between Afflicted, Depraved, and Twisted Tyrant, what is your favorite?
With all consideration, I think Afflicted is probably the most accurate.
Bet. All right, cool. So Caligula the Afflicted. I like that. I really like that. With the worst score of the 3 so far. I knew that was going to happen.
Well, yeah.
I had no question. Because the first 2 are really great, important men.
Yeah, they did good things for a long time.
Yeah, they did. And Caligula did not. He did terrible things for a brief time.
Yeah. Yeah, he did nothing good. Well, he did nothing good that lasted.
Right.
For anything.
And it was outweighed. Every good thing was outweighed greatly by all the bad.
Yes.
The horrible. Well, that wraps it up. Thank you guys so much for listening to the 3rd episode of The Great Podcast. You can find us on, we're on Podbean, Spotify, Amazon Music, I think, and then a few other places. But if you want to check out our maps and anything that we add, you can go to thegreatpodcast.net and check that out. All the episodes will be up there too. So I think this is the point where we just kind of babble while the music plays. And,
Oh, that's gonna be our outro thing.
yeah,
Just
because I
kinda
don't have an
talk a little
idea
bit.
for
Because
what
we
an
don't
outro will
have
be.
an
So
outro.
just be that say, okay, thank you guys.
That's
Yeah, I agree.